everyone, my name is Aline Mugambi. I've been involved in the space of cryptocurrency for the last 2 years, and today I want to talk to you about Bitcoin, the different ways you can accumulate Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin mining and blockchain, and how you can mine your Bitcoins using BitClub network. Now, what is Bitcoin? By definition, Bitcoin is a digital currency. We could call it also a virtual currency, or what we call cryptocurrency. Now, to give you just a local example, we have a couple of digital currencies that we're already using. Some of them are things like Bonga points, the smart cards, the supermarket smart cards. We also have the Flying Blue Miles. Those are examples of local digital currencies. Now, Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a global digital currency. Now, for me to be able to explain Bitcoin, we have to look at the journey of money. Because like I said, Bitcoin is a currency. We have to look at the journey of money. Now, the past of money as we know it was barter trade. That is what our forefathers were using. They were exchanging cows and goats and cowrie shells. And then we moved to what we are presently using, which is known as fiat currency. Now, fiat currencies are currencies like the Kenya shillings, the US dollar, the pound. All those are known in general as fiat currency. Now, the future of money is digital currency. And Bitcoin is just one example of the digital currencies we have. Today, we have more than 2,000 types of digital currencies. We have currencies like Monero, we have currencies like Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, but my focus today is on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the mother of all the other cryptocurrencies. Now, Bitcoin was invented in 2009, and the three main reasons why Bitcoin was invented was one, equality. Today, we are not equal. It depends on what currency you're holding. If you're holding the US dollars vis-a-vis the Kenya shillings, someone holding the US dollar has a currency that has more value. Now with Bitcoin, the value is the same everywhere. It's the same globally. So that makes us equal. If you have 10 Bitcoins in Dubai, I have 10 Bitcoins in Kenya, you have 10 Bitcoins in Uganda, we are holding a currency that has the same value. So that makes a big difference with the currencies that we currently have. Now, number two reason of why Bitcoin was invented was to reduce the transactional fees. Today, any financial transaction that you do costs quite a bit. If you transact through mobile money, if you transact through Western Union, MoneyGram, if you transact and put your money in the bank, any financial transaction you do costs quite a bit. Now, with Bitcoin, the transactional fee is very minimal. Now, the third reason why Bitcoin was invented was to ensure the value keeps growing over time. Now, if you look at the currencies we are currently using, the fiat currency, they've been depreciating in value because of one, inflation, and the fact that they are unlimited in supply. Governments keep printing money, and as they keep printing money, it loses value. A good example, in 1992, we printed the Jirongo money, what we famously know as the Jirongo money. What happened to our currency? It lost value. As governments keep printing money, like what happened in Zimbabwe, the value of that currency loses value. Now with Bitcoin, the value has been on the increase. Today, if we look at the value of one Bitcoin, is going for about 3,500 US dollars, which is equivalent to about 350,000 Kenya shillings for one Bitcoin. Now, what has pushed the value of Bitcoin to where it is? Because the value has been on the increase since the year of invention, which was 2009. Now, the value of Bitcoin is purely determined by supply and demand because it's not a currency created by any government. So it is purely determined by demand and supply. Now, the inventor of Bitcoin created only 21 million Bitcoins. Now, when you hear about 21 million Bitcoins, today the Kenyan population is 45 million. How do we split this 21 million? Because it sounds like very little Bitcoins that need to be split among the population. Now, the most ingenious idea that came up with this 21 million Bitcoin is that the inventor ensured that Bitcoin can be divisible in 8 decimal points. Now, what does that mean? You don't need to own an entire Bitcoin. You can own a fraction of a Bitcoin. So that way it becomes divisible among the world population. Now, over the years, the supply of Bitcoin has been on a decrease. From the year of invention, which was 2009, to where we are right now, the supply has been on a decrease. Every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin keeps on reducing, and it reduces by half. Now, for instance, from 2009 to 2012, the supply of Bitcoin was about 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Then from 2012 to 2016, this supply reduced by half to 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Now we're in the third phase where only 12.5 Bitcoins are being supplied. Now this supply will go on until the year 2140. We've now done 10 years. We have 122 years more to go before all the 21 million Bitcoins that were created are now released and are in supply and are actually being used. Now, what actually really dictates this value? As you can see, the supply of Bitcoin keeps on diminishing and the demand of Bitcoin has been on the increase. The more people adopt the usage of Bitcoin, the more the value goes up. As more countries are now adopting the usage of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, for example, a country like Japan, Germany, Russia, these are some of the countries that have adopted the usage of Bitcoin. And this is what is pushing the demand. Now, we know from economics, when the supply of something goes down and the demand increases, the value will always go up. So this is what purely determines the value of Bitcoin: demand and supply. Now, how do you accumulate this Bitcoin? Seeing that today's value is about $3,500, which is equivalent to about 350,000 Kenya shillings. How can you accumulate this Bitcoin? There are three ways you can accumulate Bitcoin. Number one, you can accept it as a mode of payment. Today, if you have a business, you can ask your customers to pay you in Bitcoin. Today, we have very many businesses around the globe that are accepting Bitcoin as a mode of payment. One of the businesses is Microsoft, because Bill Gates is one of the biggest, user of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Also, if you fly with Virgin Atlantic Airline, you can pay for your ticket using Bitcoin. In fact, if you go to a site called expedia.com or cheapair.com, you can book for a flight, you can book for a hotel and pay using Bitcoins. Now, you'd be more amused to know that today you can buy a car from Japan using Bitcoin. There's a site, one of the companies that imports cars from, Japan, called Bford. You can actually go to their site, import a car and pay using Bitcoin. So these are some of the companies that are already accepting Bitcoin. Starbucks, Walmart, these are some of the companies that you can use and pay using Bitcoin. Now, locally, we also have a few that are accepting Bitcoin. One of the international schools called STEM International, you can pay for school fees using Bitcoin. Apart from that, on Thika Road, we have a mall called the Spa Mall. There's a shop in there called Milano Collection that basically deals with shoes. You can actually go and buy your Adidas, your Nike, your Skechers and pay using Bitcoins. We also have a shop in downtown Luthuli called Box that you can buy electronics and pay using Bitcoin. These are some of the examples locally of the companies that have already adopted, being paid in Bitcoin. So that is one way you can accumulate Bitcoin. Accept it as a mode of payment. Number two way is you can trade. Now, today, if you have $1, you will go to a Forex. Same way, if you have Bitcoins, you can go to a Bit exchange where you can convert your Bitcoin into Kenya shillings. Now, globally, we have a couple of exchanges that are already running. One of them and the biggest exchange is called Binance. In the UAE, in Dubai, we already have one called BitOasis. Locally, we have about 4 exchanges that are already operating in our country. One of the biggest exchanges is called BitPesa. Anything Kenyan comes with the word pesa. So we have BitPesa, which is one of the biggest exchanges in Kenya, where you can convert your Bitcoin into Kenya shillings. Now, BitPesa is also operating in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Ghana, in Nigeria, and they've also opened in the Asian market. We also have a new entrant into the market known as Belfrix. We have also an app for individuals to trade in Bitcoin, an app called localbitcoins.com or Remitano. So these are some of the examples locally that you can trade, buy and sell your Bitcoin. So that's another way of accumulating Bitcoins. Now, the third option, and what I recommend, based on my experience in this space for the last 2 years, what I recommend is getting the Bitcoins from source through a process called mining. The first 2 ways of accumulating Bitcoin, that is accepting as a mode of payment and trading, are very risky because the value of Bitcoin fluctuates. Last year, December, one Bitcoin was going for about 2 million Kenya shillings. Today, the same Bitcoin is going for 350,000 Kenya shillings. So if you're trading, unless you know your game very well, it's very risky. So for anybody looking to get into this space, I always recommend the third way of accumulating Bitcoins, which is Bitcoin mining. Now, what is mining? Mining is just a fancy way of verifying transactions. Now, let me give you a very good example. We all have Visa cards, a MasterCard, you know, the ones you're given anytime you open an account in a bank. Now, today, if you go in a restaurant, you can pay for your bill using a Visa card. But is your money in this Visa card? No. Your money is actually in a bank account. So what does Visa do? Visa just verifies the transaction, that you have enough money in the bank account to pay for your bill. And for doing that verification, they are given a commission. Now, that is what mining is. In the crypto space, because we don't have Visa cards and MasterCard, in the crypto space, we use machines called Antminer S9. These are the machines that verify transaction. Now, today, mining is a very expensive endeavor. Trying to mine Bitcoin from the comfort of your home right now does not make financial sense, because that Antminer that is showing on your screen, to buy it, you'll need about 300,000 to 500,000 Kenya shillings to buy that machine. Number two, it needs to be on power 24 hours, because every 10 minutes, some Bitcoins are being released, and every minute, every second, there are Bitcoin transactions that are being carried on. So this machine just verify this transaction. So they need to be on power 24 hours. Apart from that, they need to be internet connected. And the competition right now globally in mining is too stiff. So in 2009, 2010, 2011, people could sit at home with their computers and mine Bitcoin. Today, it does not make financial sense to try and mine Bitcoin from home. Now, I'll play for you a video that basically shows you how a mining facility looks like. This was featured on CNN, and Richard Quest actually highlighted how the Bitcoin transaction, basically what these mining machines do. They're just supercomputers that are just verifying transaction, and the video basically explains how a mining facility looks like. Many of these mining facilities are based in Iceland because power there is cheaper. The biggest miners are in China, because in China, in Iceland, in Norway, in Russia, because the climate there is cold. So kindly watch this video and you will understand how mining happens.
It's called the land of fire and ice. Ancient Iceland is now the home to an extremely modern endeavor, mining for bitcoins. At this Bitcoin farm near Reykjavik, noisy computers run 24/7, hoping to solve the mathematical puzzles that create the virtual money. Those who succeed are rewarded with bitcoins.
What is all of this? So all of these are our mining rigs, we call them. Made up of standard hardware, but optimized in the design for Bitcoin mining.
It takes this number of computers to stand a realistic chance of mining bitcoins and winning the blockchain battle. Since January, Bitcoin's value soared some 450%. So with returns like these, you can put up with a bit of noise. Why is it so noisy?
It's the bands on the top. These bands are strong bands. They take out a lot of air.
There is one overriding reason why these Bitcoin mines are here in Iceland. Plentiful, cheap electricity. The country abounds with geothermal energy. The whole setup in Iceland is perfect for cooling all these machines. Ordinary air from outside is just drawn in, wafted through the computers, and then heated up and sucked back outside. Some call Bitcoin the biggest financial bubble the world has ever seen. Those who run this Bitcoin farm see it more a part of a thrilling future.
There's several rival cryptocurrencies coming up which are competing for market share in the space, and many of them offer similar features. But I think Bitcoin has most of the benefits that all the cryptocurrencies have, and it's going to be the largest player for a long time to come.
Iceland is a volatile, unforgiving landscape, perhaps perfect for bitcoins. It makes this country a fitting location to mine digital gold.
Welcome back. So having watched the video, you now, I hope, understand what mining is. And from that video, you saw the mining facility in Iceland. So all those machines that you saw are what we call the Antminer S9. Now, basically what the Antminers do is that they verify the crypto transactions going on. Now, how do you know the kind of transactions that are currently happening? So I'll bring in blockchain and I'll be explaining what blockchain is. Now, all the transactions that are happening globally, all the crypto transactions that are happening globally, if I send you a Bitcoin, if you buy something using Bitcoin, all of them have to go through blockchain. Now, what is blockchain? Now, blockchain is a public ledger that basically shows the visibility of all the cryptocurrency transactions that are happening globally. Now, let me give you a very simple example. Today, if you have a bank account, it runs on what we call a private ledger. Nobody can actually see your transactions. Nobody can actually access your bank details. However, with Bitcoin, it runs on a public ledger that is known as blockchain. So the public can actually view all the transactions that are happening. Now, that ledger called blockchain is what tracks all the transactions that are happening around the world. Now, if you go to blockchain by typing www.blockchain.com, you go to data and Bitcoin Explorer. As you can see on the screen, it shows you all the current transactions that are happening. And from the screen that you can see all the various transactions that are happening. And they're moving as we go along. So those shows all the transactions that are happening. People buying things using Bitcoin, people sending each other Bitcoin. So those are live transactions that you can actually see on the screen. Now, for you to verify this transaction, then you're known as a miner. All the companies that mine Bitcoin are actually highlighted on blockchain. Now, if we go back to the screen, we'll be able to see all the companies that are mining Bitcoin. By going again to www.blockchain.info, go to data, mining information, and hash rate distribution shows you all the current companies that are verifying transactions, what we are calling miners. Now, from the chart on the screen, you can see about 16 companies around the globe that are mining Bitcoin. Now, the biggest players in mining of Bitcoin are Chinese companies. Now, the reason why Chinese are the biggest players right now in mining is because they found a way to reduce their electricity bill. They use coal. But other companies as well are using geothermal, especially the companies set up in Iceland use geothermal. Now, out of all the 16 companies you can see on the screen, most of them are privately owned, meaning common mwananchi like me or a single person like me cannot invest in any of these companies. Now, we mine through one of those companies that is known as BitClub Network. I'm sure on the screen you can see a company by the name BitClub Network. Now, here's where I put a disclaimer. We have too many scams that are coming up of people saying that they're mining Bitcoin. To ensure you don't get scammed and lose your hard-earned money, any company that is mining Bitcoin is highlighted on blockchain. So if anybody tells you they mine Bitcoin, please check them on blockchain. Blockchain shows all the companies that are actually legitimately mining Bitcoin. Now, from my conversation, you can see one of those legit companies is BitClub Network. Now, BitClub Network was founded in September of 2014. And how BitClub came about, these three smart Americans came together and they said, you know, how can we make it possible for Aline, for John, for Carol to get in this space of mining? Because only the wealthy people, the Bill Gates, the Richard Bransons, were mining Bitcoin because they have the financial muscle. How can we make it possible for anybody who wants to get involved in mining to actually come on board and mine Bitcoin? So it started as a club where they welcomed everybody. They opened it up to the public for anybody to buy shares in BitClub Network, and you start mining Bitcoin with BitClub Network. Now, in the next video of part 2, I will be explaining how you can become a member of BitClub Network and what is in it for you once you become a member of BitClub Network. How do you make money? Once you've invested and become a shareholder of BitClub, how does it work? So in the next video, which I'll be doing of part 2, I will go into details of how to become a member of BitClub Network. How do you make money once you become a member of BitClub? So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the second part of my video.